Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, if voters needed one more red flag to underscore the fact that Hillary Clinton is totally incompetent, there's some news coming out today that should, help justify that. Now, obviously, the State Department under Clinton is largely responsible for the power vacuum there with taking Gaddafi out in Libya, which has, of course, led to this rise in terrorist activity, which has spread to the West.
So, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
So Clinton, as well as British Prime Minister Tony Blair, were warned by Gaddafi himself. He actually issued a prophetic warning to Tony Blair that jihadists would attack Europe if his regime was allowed to collapse. Now, these are according to phone conversations between the two that have just been revealed today. Now, Gaddafi's dire prediction was made in two desperate telephone calls on February 25th, 2011, as a civil war was engulfing Libya. In the first phone call, Gaddafi said, "They want to control the Mediterranean, and then they will attack Europe." He insisted that he was trying to defend Libya from al-Qaeda fighters. Gaddafi said, "We are not fighting them. They are attacking us. I want to tell you the truth. It is not a difficult situation at all. The story is simply this. An organization has laid down sleeping cells in North Africa called al-Qaeda organization in North Africa. The sleeping cells in Libya are similar to dormant cells in America before 9/11. And in a second call he made just over 4 hours later, he said that he was going to have to arm the people and get ready for a fight. Libyan people will die. Damage will be on the Med, Europe, and the whole world. These armed groups are using the situation as a justification, and we shall fight them. So Gaddafi, even in these phone calls, he said, please invite the journalists in. They can report on this, so you'll know that this is the truth that I'm speaking. This is the situation. And of course, 3 weeks later, a NATO-led coalition began bombing raids that led to the overthrow of Gaddafi, and this dictator was finally deposed in August and murdered by a mob in October. Now, Mr. Blair had actually developed a friendship with Gaddafi, and he cleared these phone calls with David Cameron and Hillary Clinton, and he was attempting to persuade Gaddafi to leave Libya and give him some safe passage to avoid further conflict. Obviously, we all know what the outcome was of that. Well, before the break, I talked to you about some revealing telephone calls between Colonel Gaddafi and Tony Blair, in which he said, if you guys take me out, then there is going to be a power vacuum. It's going to lead to a rise in Islamic terrorism, which will eventually spread to Europe. Well, now that prophetic warning is coming true. Islamic migrants are waging jihad on women. And it appears that government officials are also collaborating there in Europe. German officials have reportedly been told to cover up crimes committed by migrants in order to avoid spreading panic among the population. No arrests have been made so far in Cologne following all of those sexual assaults that took place on New Year's Eve. So now it's being reported that there was actually New Year's migrant sex assaults taking place in every major German city on New Year's Eve. So hundreds of these assaults have now been reported to police. A bouncer who was actually working at a nearby hotel during this mass molestation of women revealed how police told him they thought the situation resembled a civil war. And contrary to a lot of the downplayed media reports, senior police officers say that they feared some fatalities were actually going to result from all of the chaos that was going on there in the square there in Cologne. They were lighting off fireworks and crowds of people, and the fireworks were just, being set off in huge crowds. And then so as people would try to run away from these fireworks being set off, groups would surround the women and, of course, sexually assault them. And so these events were downplayed by the German media until scores of women came forward reporting this. And the German ministers, they initially said, there's no evidence that asylum seekers were involved in this violence, but the media's attempt to cover up this widespread rape by migrants in Europe is now beginning to unravel. A police official said that 14 of the 15 sex attackers that he personally apprehended were newly arrived Syrian refugees. They actually had their papers with them. And according to a leaked police report, it claims that one of those that was involved in the attacks told officers, "I am Syrian. You have to treat me kindly. Mrs. Merkel invited me." So basically just thumbing their nose to the police officers there, sexually assaulting women, and telling everyone that basically welcomed them, open their country, giving them free welfare and saving them from, their refugee status. And they're just basically thumbing their nose at people. And, as we pointed out before, about 70% of the more than 1 million people that have been invited into Germany have been young men who are of fighting age, meaning why are they not fighting these militants that are taking over their country? Why are they leaving women and children there to be victimized by ISIS? So, that's just one observation there. But the German chancellor, she has even come out and said, we have to just understand that these migrants are just going to be a little bit more criminal than us, and everyone just needs to calm down. But if you need any more proof that there is a concerted effort to cover this up, Germany's largest broadcaster, ZDF, actually apologized for not reporting on these sexual assault attacks. Now, editors of the network's nightly news show confessed to not covering the attacks despite knowing the magnitude and severity of the events. And leaked police documents also confirm that authorities held back on reporting the information to the public as well. And they did that until the media actually broke the story on Monday, which was 4 days after these attacks took place. So the editors there said the news situation was clear enough. It was a mistake of the 7 p.m. show not to at least report the incidents. But here's what's interesting is that the police actually went so far as to issue a New Year's Day statement saying that there was a relaxed atmosphere in the city center. They blatantly lied and said everything was great. It was so relaxed. What a wonderful New Year's Eve celebration we've had here. So they were actively trying to cover this up, and we've reported this before, that they had been covering up the mass amount of sexual assaults and rapes that are going on due to these migrant crisis here. Now, after the only reason that they now issued this apology and then came out and said, oh, okay, you guys are right, some stuff really bad stuff did actually go down, is because more than 60 complaints were filed by women. And they were also going online and just saying, why isn't anyone talking about this? And just explaining how they were sexually assaulted. So then that was when the state police chief came clean and he said the events were of a new dimension in crime. So he actually comes out. So no, it wasn't a relaxed atmosphere in the city. Some officials that were there were actually fearing that there was going to be a civil war and fatalities. And then he says, it's a new dimension in crime. Now, the mayor of Cologne has actually come under fire. This woman, she actually suggested that women protect themselves from would-be rapists by keeping them at arm's length. This is actually what she came out and said. And she also suggests a code of conduct needs to be created for women and girls. So we've already reported on this before, telling young girls not to wear skirts, not to wear things. Basically, don't ask for it. Don't ask to get raped. And victim blaming here. And, basically, why don't you just go ahead and make the burqa mandatory? Maybe that'll stop them from being raped, right? Then they won't be asking for it. And of course, there is no word here from the mayor on, how to teach migrants not to rape women. So I guess there's going to be a little cultural education there for these people. But that's not it. So we also have the Green Party's Claudia Roth warning citizens against linking the crime to migrants. And then there's another German minister who came out and said, critics of the refugee program are at least as awful as migrant rapists. So if you're going online into these chat rooms and criticizing the migrants here, you are a rapist. I mean, you are an equivalent to a rapist. So they're basically saying that, that criticizing this mass immigration is as bad as sexually assaulting dozens of women in cities across Germany. So it's just basically ludicrous. So, who decided that protecting Islam's image is paramount and it trumps everyone's concerns? Breitbart is actually reporting that the German government's demand that social media giants, Google, Facebook, and Twitter remove what it calls anti-migrant hate speech is actually having its first real test in the wake of these attacks in Cologne over New Year's Eve. So they also point out how moderators on the link sharing and discussion site Reddit have already begun deleting dozens of links and comments about immigrant gang violence after these sexual assaults. And this is, of course, and they're saying it's an attempt to clamp down on vileness. And it hasn't gone unnoticed. People are in these chat rooms going, what the heck? Why are you censoring all of my information there? So they're not only actively censoring the names of the people who were arrested. That's under lock and key. It's a huge secret. The police aren't allowed to report. They actually had to issue a statement saying that it was a relaxed atmosphere there in the square, even though they were scared people were actually going to die. And they knew that there was dozens of reports of sexual assault going on. So there's an active cover-up. And it's pretty clear to see what is actually happening here. It is a planned invasion, and they want everybody to just adapt to this new, violent, dangerous society that they have created, and then they will protect you by expanding their surveillance state and their militaristic state powers. So this is all the plan, order out of chaos. We can absolutely see what's going on. And you know what? Until they shut us up here at Infowars, we're going to continue to shine the light where they do not want it pointed.
Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction. Easy assembly. Low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.